Hey YouTube, I just wanted to make a little short video here on a 10-gallon sump build that I finished up last week for a 29-gallon nano tank. I did a lot of research on this project. All in all, took just a couple days to put together and get it kind of fine-tuned, but it took me a good month to gather all the information that I needed, because on the internet there was a lot of useful stuff, but a lot of it applied to, 55-gallon tank or 75-gallon tank, or, take your pick. And I kind of took bits and pieces of information from various different sources, put it all together, and then tried to scale it to my size. So the purpose of this video is hopefully if somebody else has got a 29-gallon tank, they're interested in doing a 10-gallon sump, this should make the project a lot easier for you. Starting with the overflow box, my tank wasn't drilled. It's just a standard 29-gallon tank, and I chose not to drill it. I'm kind of both ways on that. I wouldn't have minded to drill it, but the tank has already been established for over a year, and I just wanted to add a sump, so I didn't really want to pull everything out of the tank so I could drill it and put a bulkhead in. So I went with a Eshopps Nano, PF Nano overflow box, and it says that it's only rated for 200 gallons per hour, but believe me, I've read that they'll handle more, and they definitely will. This thing will handle at least 450 gallons per hour. Not that I'm running even close to that through it, but I did throw a different pump on there just to test it and see what it would handle. And it does handle high gallon per hour with no problem. Anyways, like I said, this is the Eshopps PF Nano overflow box, and you can see inside of here, this is one of the mods that I made, and it's a variation of a stockman mod for the stack pipe. I don't know, put the microphone right down in here so you can hear. I mean, it is virtually silent. The only thing that I can hear with this sump, period, is the water going through the PVC drain line. That's it. You can't hear. There's no gurgling. There's no splashing. No nothing. This was the longest part of the project. This is what took me the most amount of time, but it's also what I'm the most happy with at this point. You can Google stockman standpipe, and all in all, it was really easy to build. Cost about $3 in material, if that, and took about 30 minutes to put it together. It just took some fine tuning to get the right amount of holes in there in the internal pipe to accommodate my flow accordingly. But it's really simple. All you need is a piece of air line, a piece of PVC pipe, bushing, and a coupler, and a Dremel or some type of grinding, wheel for your cordless drill or drill. And if you look up stockman standpipe on the internet, you can find designs for it. Like I said, simple to put together. But with the standard, standpipe that came with this thing, I could hear it gurgling and everything else upstairs. Even putting a piece of airline tubing inside of the stock standpipe helps. Definitely, I've seen other people do it on YouTube. It definitely cuts down the sound. This eliminates the sound, period. There is no sound. Like I said, all you can hear is water going through the drain pipe, trickling down. That's it. There's no way to eliminate that I can see, unless you somehow had enough back pressure in there to make it where the overflow, the drain pipe is filled all the time, and then you run a major risk of flood. So I'm not going to go that route, but that's what I went with on this. Like I said, totally silent, couldn't be happier. Onto the sump. The lights are off in the tank because it's nighttime and everything's asleep. But this is my sump build. Pretty simple design. I just went with a small fill chamber, bubble trap, then a small refugium, with some chaetomorpha in there. And right now I've got that big power head in there just to circulate, but I've actually got a Hydor Pico mini power head that should be here tomorrow that's going to replace that one, just to give some circulation to kind of tumble that chaetomorpha. And also my coral banded shrimp, he's found his way into the sump. This will be his residence now, for the time being anyways, until I figure out what I'm going to do with him. He's developed a habit for harassing fish, and he's gotten so big that he's starting to kill other inverts in there. And like I said, the tank's been running for about a year. He hasn't been a problem until recently, so he seems to be happy down here. He gets fed and doesn't have to compete for food. Then on this side is just my return, and I actually started out with the Aquaticlife 2500 pump, and it was too much. Even with I have a ball valve in the return line, and I would throttle it back. But when I would throttle it back with the ball valve, it would build up back pressure inside the pump. And it wasn't that the pump didn't perform fine, but it was that it would develop this kind of harmonic hum to it. And with this sump being so silent, I could hear the hum of the pump. And to be honest with you, it drove me nuts. So I ended up swapping that one out and going with, this is a Marineland. It's a Marineland Maxi-jet NJ1100 utility pump, and this thing is really slick. I couldn't be happier. It's under 20 watts, puts out no heat, 175 gallons per hour at 3 feet ahead, and that's exactly what I want, because I'm just about 4 feet ahead, so that puts me at about a 4 time per hour turnover rate in my sump, which is exactly where I want to be. I don't want water slamming through here. As far as the skimmer, I had a C-clone, and it was just too big, took up too much room in the sump. I didn't want to, have it take up that much real estate, because it is only a 10-gallon and it is crammed. So I went with a Aquaticlife miniskimmer 115, and it's been running for about 2 weeks now, and about every 2 days, if that, I have to dump the cup. I mean, this thing does an awesome job for its size. There was a way to quiet that as well that I did, modded it, and I can make another video on that. If anybody's interested in it, just leave it in the comments, and I'd be happy to make another video on that modification, because I will say that the air intake on this skimmer is its only downfall, that it makes a gurgly type of sound similar to a overflow box. And obviously you can tell I just have a thing for sounds that drives me nuts, so I try to make everything as quiet as possible. Unfortunately, with the condensation on here, you can't really see what I'm going to describe on the sump fill line, but I'm going to do my best. If you do a Google search, I would put in like a sump periscope mod, and that's what I went with. There's a lot of different things you can do, like a reverse standpipe for in your sump, or there's a lot of different ideas out there, and I found this one to work for my application, and it was the easiest to do. What it does basically is it allows the air to escape out of the fill without creating that back pressure and that almost boiling water effect and that major gurgling and explosion of air out the bottom of your drain line. Basically all it is the drain pipe is submerged in the sump 1.5 inches off the bottom of that drain pipe. You run a 90 degree. You run the 90 degree directly into a T, and off the top of the T you put another 90 degree, and with it being submerged at that depth, it puts that top 90 degree elbow at about half of it submerged, half of it above the water line, and then obviously your other end of your T is fully submerged. 95% of the water comes out the drain in the bottom section of the T, and it allows the air to escape through the top section. I think the reason why it's called a periscope is the finished project or finished product resembles a periscope on a submarine, you know, just barely peeking out of the water. Like I said, 95% of your air comes out of that top section. You don't get any of that boiling or gurgling of bubbles in your sump. So that's my setup. Hopefully it's helpful to anybody. If anybody has any further questions or anything like that, feel free to leave it in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer it. I hope it's helpful to anybody who's looking to do a similar type of deal. Try to give all the product information that I can think of. Like I said, this Marineland pump, it's running wide open with the ball valve wide open, and I just find that to be, you know, optimal, where I don't have to throttle anything back. So for a 10-gallon sump, that's a good size pump to use if you got 4 feet ahead or less, unless you're the type of person that really wants it ripping through there. But I personally don't. I want to let it go through here slow so it can have time to, you know, do its thing. But again, thanks for watching. I hope it was helpful.